Hello there, welcome to the main people introducing literature. So, before beginning anything, there is a customary practice of asking you why you have selected English language and literature as your degree main. So, for that, you have your own justifications, your own passions and love and anxiety concerns towards this course, and you might have might be in a dilemma or might be in a confusion, thinking about what all things that we need to study through this course that is there. So we have a discussion here on what is literature, what you will be studying throughout this course. And the only main paper for the first semester is introducing literature. So this is something that is introducing you to the world of words, and that is introduction to literature. I'm just giving you now. So the first thing I want you to ask is, why do we read? So there will be two answers. We read for entertainment and we read for information, isn't it? So that is the two things that we read books, or we read things. And so when I ask you something, you read books, the thing which is comes to mind when reading something, that is only the stories or the novels or the fiction. We call them as fiction. So it is the think, or we think we have an idea that only fiction is literature, as only novel is literature, only short story is literature. But is all fiction literature? So that is one thing I just want to ask you as. So the next question I just have in my mind, or I'm just putting you in a question mark, is like literature is concerned with the content and the form. In other words, not only the story but the way it is written. So it is not only the story but the way it is written. So the next question will be like, what is literature? Literature is something, a body of written work. What literature is? The body of written works. And the particular name literature that is often applied to those imaginative works of poetry. It's not only on fiction or story, it is the works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intentions of the author, and how excellently the authors execute the excellence. That is one of the definitions Encyclopedia Britannica gave for the definition of literature. So what is literature? A body of written works. The name is often applied to those imaginative works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intentions of the authors and the excellence of the execution. So this is something there. And furthermore, when we look deeply into it, what is literature is the collective writings proper to any language or nations. We have our literature, Malayalam literature. So it is the term literature is a site of ideological conflict. Is it Malayalam literature, English literature, American literature, Indian literature? Okay, so it may refer to those canonical works in the genre. Genre means types. That is traditional works considered to be artistic. So there we have touchstone works that we consider as classical works, and that are considered to be artistic. And it may also refer to the total sum of writing, like letters, memoirs, comics, historical writing, etc. So very simply, there are lot many definitions which is given for literature: an intimate experience of an author carefully expressed in concrete images through the use of structure, imaginative style, a luxurious metaphor. So it is not practical or logical communication. So there is another definition. So that is somebody who's very much indulged in scientific aspiration, scientific temperament. There are people, doctors, they are great writers, but there are people they were got more scientific temperament. They are thinking more in logical. So they think that it's not practical when we are thinking literary aspects or logical communication. There is no logical communication in literary piece of work. So that's something an aesthetic experience. It's something beyond that. So there are lot many definitions. So simply we can say it's like all writing in prose and poetry having a permanent value. It has got an excellent format, an imaginative or critical characteristics, and heightened emotional effect. And when we think about literature, how the word literature that came to origin. So the etymological origin of the word literature is from Latin language, Latin. So literatura, litteratura. So that is the particular word in Latin that is derived from littera, littera, so which meant a letter, so which is the smallest element of alphabetical writing. So the word text is related to textile, okay, and it can be translated as fabric, just as a single threads form a fabric. So words and sentences form a meaningful and coherent text. So it's something that literature or text as cultural and historical phenomena, and to investigate the condition of the production and reception. And when we think about when and where literature began, so the beginning of literature. So it's not pictorial. There is a prehistorical painting in the cave wall, so that is one kind of a literary piece, the painting. Okay, it's not only pictorial, but it's also sound. That is what we call as acoustic. So spoken words into signs, oral traditions, oral traditions, വായ്മൊഴികൾ, that is also integral part of literature. So before writing developed as a system of signs, that of pictographs, alphabets, text were passed on orally. The predecessor of literary expression called oral poetry. So there is in this century, 21st century, there is podcast things, audio literature, and the lyrics of songs display the acoustic features of literary phenomena. So and that is through the medium of radio and sound carriers. So that is the audio literature is the. And in the Middle Ages, the visual component of writing was highly privileged in such forms as richly decorated handwritten manuscripts, and also in the arrival of the modern age, that is along with the invention of the printing press. That's very important. So the invention of printing press made the visual element disappear or reduced it to a few illustration in the text. So when we think about drama as a genre of literature, there is a union between it's actual performance on the stage. We can see them, we can hear them. That is union between the spoken word and the visual expression. So drama is also viewed as a literature. What is that there? It is combining the acoustic, the auditory, the sound, plus the visual element. So that is also this symbiosis of word and image also culminates in film. Film is also a literary piece. So film is interesting for textual studies since a word and picture are recorded and as in a book, and can be looked up at any time. So methods of literary and textual criticism are therefore frequently applied to cinema these days, okay, and that of acoustic media, that of auditory media. And in this age, literature is not something that of a classical works. In this age, the computer, hypertext, the networks, the internet are the latest hybrids of the textual and various media. And that of writing is linked to what? Sounds, pictures. No, it's not only words and letters and alphabets, it's linked to sound, pictures, or even video clip. That's literature. Video clips within an interdependent network. So the written medium is obviously the main concern in the study of literature when we are dealing. Okay, the written medium, the main concern in the study of literature or literary text, and that of stage, painting, film, music, or even computer networks is also literary genres. So when we talk about a genre is a French word. It's the spelling is like GENRE, but the pronunciation is a genre. That is a French word actually. What is the meaning of the word genre? The meaning is a type, or we can call them as a kind of literature. So the genres of literature we will study are poetry, drama, fiction. In fiction we have short story, non-fiction, and novel, and again last is a film. Film is also a genre of literature. So the first two things, that is the prose and poetry, are the two kinds of writing that is there in there. Prose is a straight. What is a prose? A prose is a straight writing in paragraph form. For example, newspaper, novels, and magazines. What is poetry? Poetry is a particular arrangement of words on a page for there is a kind of a heightened emotional effect in the versification of a poetry. So there is a particular arrangement of words in there. So and we have in prose we have fiction and non-fiction, and all writings fall into one of these two categories. What? Writing or non-fiction. I mean fiction or non-fiction. What is fiction? Fiction is something. Fiction is not true. It is drawn from the imagination of the author. And then what is non-fiction? Non-fiction is true. It is based on real events or facts. So we have literary genres like fiction. Fiction we have ancient and modern. So ancient fiction we call them as Aesop fable. You heard of it, right? Fable, tale, awesome. Okay, that is ancient fiction. So modern fiction we have what? Novels, short stories, etc. So next we have poetry, drama we have biography, autobiography, the essay, film, etc. The fable, ancient fiction, fables and tales. These are there are lot many elements of fiction, and there is a point of view when we deal with a fiction. There are multiple number of things and things that is there when we deal with the fictional element. So that is the main thing we need to know when we are too much concerned about introduction of literature. So introducing literature is a very fine thing which is giving you the collection of written work, which is giving you an idea about what is literature, and why we study literature. And we have that question. So why do we study literature? That is it is something, literature is something that is expressing one's mind. We can have a contact, we can have a liaison with what the other person has written. So that is to express oneself, to have access to the other culture, and we can recognize the human dreams and struggles, and it is also shape our goals and values and clarify our own identity. And it's also, while reading something, that is very helpful to develop our perspective of various events. And so we know that it is the main thing that we study what literature. So that is the interpretation of our life. That is holding a mirror against the society in which we live. So there is a particular, I'm just stopping here with a particular quote which is given by the father of English literature, who is regarded to be